The next topic we are going to discuss is how has COVID pandemic impacted activism. The pandemic changed things in every part of our lives, from our home to the public and social sphere. However, these changes did not stop activism or protests. What lessons can we learn from the adaptations that activists have made? Every crisis is opportunity for bad guys to push authoritarian or anti-democratic agendas. It is a fertile ground for cutting public freedoms and increasing surveillance. In Asia, internet restrictions measures were implemented to monitor online talk, with harsh repercussions for those who spoke out against the government. Countries like Russia and China implemented facial identification cameras to identify and track opposition actors while claiming it was to monitor self-isolation. This, of course, caused issues for movements, but they adapted strategically and tactically. Some tactical change was more going online, doing things over internet to coordinate acts of protest, such as protesting on balconies or waving signs or putting up messages. While doing this and spreading the word online, more people joined these actions each day. Another adaptation was social distancing protests. Car protests boomed, with people isolated in their car while protesting. Following COVID guidelines, activists continued to organize social distance and masked rallies. COVID challenge spawned some important strategic adaptations. Some movements, such as ones in Nicaragua and Malaysia, used public service to change how they were perceived by the government and the community. Movements being attacked and villainized began to get ventilators, protective equipment, and help the homeless. Other acts of public service. This made movements more resilient to government propaganda and helped them to gain reputation on the ground. By connecting a positive message to positive actions, movement became more recognizable in their communities, and it boosted their numbers by reaching constituencies which weren't normally interested in their issues. Lastly, COVID-19 response was a public issue that sparked a lot of accountability campaigns. Many governments that failed in COVID response were put under public pressure because people were dying of COVID, and it's very, very difficult for public officials to spin or tweet their way out of it. In many places, such as Brazil, US, Belarus, there were large protests in response on how their government were responding to pandemic and the lack of actions they were taking. In fact, despite pandemic, Carnegie protest tracker shows that the global protests are on the rise. So despite its challenging effect on the public freedoms, pandemic years taught us how movements can use windows of opportunities by cleverly adapting to the new situations. Stay safe, stay motivated.